In light of Roe v. Wade being overturned, we at Point of View want to express our commitment to anyone whose body is able to give birth. Whether you are pro-life or pro-choice, you, and only you, deserve the right to decide whether or not you will carry a baby to term. We denounce the idea that anyone should have control over a body that is not their own, and as people who cannot give birth ourselves, we will continue to listen and to follow the lead of the experts. Those who can give birth, who also believe in a person's right to their own bodily autonomy. We say this to echo the message of many who are able to give birth all around the country. We hear you and are taking the steps we are called to as allies.
Hello, class, and welcome to Point of View Academy. Someone wise once said that you learn something new every day, and in this series, one of us will teach the other about a topic they don't know much about. The teacher of the episode gives a brief lecture to the class, but the student must pay attention because there absolutely will be a quiz at the end. Today's lesson, conspiracy theories. Grab your backpacks, marble notebooks, and don't forget to give your teacher a piece of fruit because class is in session.
No, it's not. Just kidding. Mr. Do, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm kidding, I don't. How are you?
How are ya?
Can you imagine if I walked into class, I was like, hi, how are you?
Hi, how are ya? Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of... yeah. Kind of,
It is 4th of July? Is that better?
yeah, well, I said it just out of habit, and then I was like, oh, there's a lot we shouldn't be celebrating right now.
It is 4th of July, I guess.
Mm.
And on this day that celebrates America, we are doing the independence of America. Not necessarily celebrates America, but I guess the day is supposedly the day that we declared independence and became our own nation. But we decided to do an Academy episode on conspiracy theories. How American is that?
I was gonna say, it's what we do best.
It's what we do best. But legitimately, though, you and I were talking about what's something we can do because we knew that an episode was going to fall on July 4th, and we were like, should we talk about... And we wanted to do an Academy episode, and we were like, should we talk about the government and how it's supposed to work? No, boring, yawn. Should we talk about, I don't know, like democracy and like when its foundations in classical Greek history, civilizations? No, yawn, boring. And we were both like, let's do conspiracy theories.
Let's lie like no other. Just kidding.
The thing is, we're not going to be spreading conspiracy. I mean,
Right,
let's just get this out of the way and disclaim this, that anything that you hear, especially when I get to my case example, is not real. Basically, I'm going to give a case example of the birds are not real conspiracy theory, which is a conspiracy theory that is not true, is not based in fact. Although it might seem like it is not based in fact. I want to emphasize it's not based in fact, that birds in this country don't exist and are not actually real.
Allow me to give an example. The last election was stolen. Perfect.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Thank you.
There's no facts that back that up. In fact, recently there has been... Anyway, let's not get political.
Facts that don't back it up.
There are facts that don't back it up. Yes, exactly. So let's not get political. But anyway, what'd you say?
Let's get on to the fun conspiracy theories that actually aren't true, just like that last one.
Yeah, so today I want to talk a little bit. I actually took a class in conspiracy theories when I studied abroad in fall of 2019. And so this episode is going to be brief, but it's going to include some of the things I learned in that class, as well as I mentioned already, a case study, or I guess a paper, or like, I don't know. Well, you're going to use the birds aren't real conspiracy theory as a case study for why this isn't real. And I'm going to give you some tips too about how to figure out if something is kind of erring on the side of conspiracy theory versus something that might be true. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I thought you were just going to teach me about different conspiracy theories. I mean, I know that's part of it, but that's cool too.
No, yeah, I'm not. I mean, so I didn't feel like I'm not gonna lie. I didn't feel like going down the rabbit hole of like, oh, this one believes this. Oh my gosh, this one believes this. I can't believe people believe this. Like, you know. So I just decided to give you a little bit of a curriculum, a little bit of taste, and then do the birds aren't real. Is that okay with you?
Not being real.
Yeah, you know, and then a quiz, of course, at the end.
And then a quiz, of course.
So, take some notes. All right.
Well, I'm taking some notes. See, I have a pen.
Okay. Good.
My phone. Usually, I take notes on my phone, and my phone is in here because I just heard it buzz. But I'm a little dense.
Do you want to look for it?
No, I'm gonna write notes.
Okay.
They say writing notes is more effective, anyways, than typing them.
Okay.
Specifically with a blue pen.
Yes. So, shall we get started?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So I'm going to start off with defining different types of conspiracy theories that exist. So this comes from Michael Barkun. He is a clinical psychologist or professor of clinical psychology at the University of Sheffield in the UK. And he studies conspiracy theories, or has studied conspiracy theories in the past. And he decided to define them. So we're going to define them. The different types of conspiracies that exist there are three of them. There's event theories. Event theories are responsible for limited, discrete event or series of events with a limited, well-defined goal. An example of an event theory conspiracy theory is the JFK assassination. For those who don't know, some people think that the JFK assassination wasn't just the lone gunman, which has been proven that it was a lone gunman who assassinated John F. Kennedy. But some people believe it was a deeper thing. The CIA might have done it. There was a multiple gunman that then disappeared into the sewer lines. That is not the case. But these conspiracy theories are considered event theories because they are responsible for limited, discrete events, or quote unquote explanations for how just one specific event occurred or may not have occurred. Another example of this is conspiracy theories about the moon landing. Some people don't think that we've actually been to the moon. We, as in the human race, has actually been to the moon because it's only happened once, and the flag should not have been waving as the way that it did, or just all these different types of things. Why was the lighting so good? Why are there different camera angles? This is what people say with the moon landing conspiracy theory. And that conspiracy theory is considered an event theory because it's just around one event. It looks like you have a question.
No, it just popped in my head because honestly, both of the examples you just gave were touched upon in, Rachel, if you're listening, you'll know this too, American Horror Story Season 10, which was the most recent season. So it's funny that those were the two that you mentioned.
Yes.
They were both touched.
I haven't watched American Horror Story. What was the theme of this year? Was it called?
It was called Double Feature. There were two. The theme was having two stories. It was kind of stupid. They didn't connect at all. But
okay.
Anyways, the second one was like aliens and the moon landing and
okay.
You know.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting that I chose those two.
Yes, that's funny.
The second type of conspiracy theories, according to Michael Barkun, is systemic theories. These are broad goals such as taking over a country, a region, or the entire world, where a single evil group oftentimes is trying to infiltrate or subvert existing institutions. Some examples from the past are this is what the Nazis used to propagate, explain their the Holocaust. That they said Jewish people were trying to take over Germany, trying to take over Europe. This is not true. Another example, fun kind of for us, Nick, is the Jesuits. The Jesuits are supposedly, since they were into education, they are into education, supposedly are this evil group that was trying to take over the world. That is not true, and that is not me being brainwashed because I went to a Jesuit institution. That is it's proven not true. And a more modern day example is QAnon and the conspiracy theories that QAnon kind of spreads. Saying that, oh, the deep state is trying to take over, our country, and Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are trying to do this. That's not true. So again, systemic theories is this category, and again, broad goals such as taking over a country, a region, or the entire world. And oftentimes they have a single evil, quote unquote, group that infiltrates or is trying to subvert existing institutions. The last example is kind of the most extreme. These are called, we're trying to, these are called super conspiracy theories. These consist of multiple conspiracies that are believed to be linked together hierarchically, and they consist of events and systemic conspiracy theories all joined together in complex ways. So when I get to the birds aren't real conspiracy theory, you'll quickly realize that this is a super conspiracy theory, because it's just so outlandish, but it's connecting other event conspiracy theories and systemic conspiracy theories together, and to make this bigger one that birds aren't real for this reason. And so that one is super conspiracy theories. Now, before I move on, I decided I wanted to include this piece, this next piece of the show, because you and I always joke pseudoscience with Point of View.
Yes.
So pseudoscience is actually a category of conspiracy theories. It's not one of Michael Barkham's types, but it's a category of conspiracy theories, because what is pseudoscience? It's, it's basically they claim to use the scientific method, or actually really they do use the scientific method, but they don't refine or alter or expand or reject the hypothesis that they are perpetuating, right? So it's basically kind of you have this idea, it's a good hypothesis, maybe backed by observations, and you go through the whole scientific method, except you don't say, you don't refine it or alter it or expand on or reject it. It's just kind of it is. So I'm going to list a lot of facts about pseudoscience. And Nick, I want you to pay close attention to them, because this may or may not be one of the questions. So okay. Here are some facts to kind of help our listeners and help you determine if pseudoscience, if what you're hearing is pseudoscience.
Okay.
Pseudoscience often begins with a hypothesis, usually one which is appealing emotionally and spectacularly implausible, and then looks only for items which appear to support it. To differentiate, normal science looks at all of the items which, no matter what, whether it supports it or rejects the hypothesis. Pseudoscience is indifferent to criteria of valid evidence. So it might, say, it won't say, oh, that's not true. It won't say, oh, that's a fair point. It will just show indifference. Pseudoscience also relies heavily on subjective validation. So, for example, if someone says that honey cures their headaches, honey on their head cures their headaches, and then keeps telling everyone that honey on their head cures their headaches, that's based on that one person's subjective experience, but was it put through the whole test of, did that happen for a lot of people? Well, probably not. Pseudoscience depends on arbitrary conventions of human culture rather than on unchanging regularities of nature. Pseudoscience always achieves a reduction to absurdity if it's pursued far enough. So basically, if you follow a claim that is pseudoscience all the way, like keep going, it eventually will reach absurdity. Pseudoscience always avoids putting its claims to a meaningful test. So if someone says, oh, can we prove this by doing this? Oftentimes it will be, nope, we can't, because it's already been proven, or because of that, whatever the excuse is. Pseudoscience often contradicts itself, even if it's in its own terms. It deliberately creates mystery where none exists by omitting crucial information and important details. This kind of goes along with, an indifference to criteria of valid evidence. Pseudoscience does not progress. Pseudoscience attempts to persuade with rhetoric, propaganda, and misrepresentation rather than valid evidence. It argues from ignorance, which is an elementary fallacy. It argues from alleged exemption, errors, anomalies, strange events, and suspect claims rather than from well-established regularities of nature, as I said before. Pseudoscience appeals to false authority, excuse me, to emotion, to sentiment, or distrust of established facts. For example, this is a reason why sometimes the conspiracy theory that the COVID vaccine had a tracking chip in it, distrust of an established fact. That a valid concern is that we got to the vaccine for COVID-19 very quickly. There's been research proven, and it's published, it's public for people to see that it is safe. The research has been done. Vaccines for COVID-19 are safe. But there was a concern there. And so this conspiracy theory about, there's a chip in the vaccine, that was fertile ground for that one to spread.
I feel validated right there because I always say that people who believe that stuff are easily impressionable. So
yeah, you've said that on the show before.
I've said that multiple times. So that kind of, it's pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Not what I say.
Right. Opinion. Perpetrators of pseudoscience oftentimes invent their own jargon, invent their own language, in which many terms lack precise or unambiguous definitions, and some have no definitions at all. So if there's a word that you haven't heard before, make sure it's an actual definition, has an actual definition. And then last few, pseudoscience appeals to the truth criteria of scientific methodology while simultaneously denying their validity. Pseudoscientific explanations tend to be by scenario. So it's like, but in this case, this is what happened, and not like, generally, this is what happened. They'll usually cite specific scenarios, which again, only back up what they're trying to claim, not in the general truth. And then pseudoscientists often appeal to the ancient human habit of magical thinking. So creativity. You'll find that a lot of conspiracy theories are very creative. So
that's interesting because the definition of magical thinking in the OCD community, I did not mean to just start teaching. I'm that annoying kid that starts like teaching, that raises their hand.
Raising hand starts teaching the teacher.
If you think something, it'll come true. But
I didn't realize that magical thinking was like a term used in the OCD community.
It is, but it's not like a real, like it's a false thing.
Sure. Okay.
It's like people that think like, oh, if I think the light's gonna fall on me, it's more likely to, which is not
interesting.
Real. Yeah. That's why they call it magical thinking. But
right.
That's interesting to hear that word.
Yeah. So those are just some facts about pseudoscience. Now, Michael Shermer, and again, all of my citations will be in the description of the episode. He's a New York Times bestselling author. He has written a lot about conspiracy theories. He's written for Scientific America. He's a very well-known author. He has what's called, and of course I have to give all of his credentials first before I tell you what he has written about. It's called the Baloney Detection Kit, which is basically, how do you draw boundaries between science and pseudoscience, right? And so he came up with 5 important questions to ask yourself in order to figure out if something is, maybe that's factual, or I don't know if that's really that true. So,
all right, let's hear them.
Here are the 5. Number 1, how reliable is the source of the claim? Well, that seems very simple, right? Like, how, I feel like you're taught that in like middle school or elementary school when you have your class goes to the library and you have, the lecture from the librarian about like plagiarism and, primary sources and secondary sources. How reliable is the source? Pseudoscientists often appear quite reliable, but when examined closely, the facts and figures they cite are distorted, taken out of context, or occasionally even fabricated. Of course, everyone makes some mistakes, and as a historian of science, Daniel Kevels showed so effectively in the book The Baltimore Affair, it can be hard to detect a fraudulent signal within the background noise of sloppiness that is a normal part of the scientific process. The question is, do the data and the interpretations of science show signs of intentional distortion? Intentional distortion. When
That's
an important...
number 2?
Huh?
That's number 2?
No, not yet. I'm still talking about number 1. When an independent committee established to investigate potential fraud scrutinized a set of research notes in Nobel laureate David Baltimore's lab, it revealed a surprising number of mistakes. However, Baltimore was exonerated because his lab's mistakes were completely random and non-directional. So there was no intent as investigated by the independent committee. So again, how reliable is the source of the claim?
Okay.
Number 2, does the source often make similar claims? So pseudoscientists have a habit of going well beyond the facts, right? For instance, flood geologists, which are creationists who believe that Noah's flood can account for many of the Earth's geological formations, consistently make outrageous claims that bear no relation to geological science. So,
sorry.
What'd you say?
I say it's a good thing we don't rely on the Bible to dictate how we live our lives today.
H.
It's so relevant.
So again, does this source often make similar claims? Now this might get weird because it's like, okay, in today's news media, like, does this network have an agenda? Does this network have an agenda? Does this source have an agenda? This source have an agenda? I don't know if I said this horse.
I have an agenda.
This source have an agenda. Okay, whatever. But do the sources often make similar claims? It's a question to ask yourself. Oftentimes, scientific communities might make a similar claim, but will have it backed up by the research that they've done. But yeah, other times pseudoscientists don't have that. So pseudoscience does not have that. Number 3, have the claims been verified by another source? Typically, pseudoscientists make statements that are unverified or verified only by a source within their own belief circle. We've talked about on the show before. I'm forgetting the term.
Echo chamber.
God, you're so smart.
Really
not. Yeah. So I've talked about it before on the show that being on your own echo chamber can be dangerous, right? So has the claim been verified by another source? We must ask who is checking the claims and even who is checking the checkers. The biggest problem with conspiracy theories often is, it's been verified by members of the same belief circle, and how trustworthy can that be? Number 4, how does the claim fit with what we know about how the world works? And a good example of this is when people claim that the Egyptian pyramids and the Sphinx were built more than 10,000 years ago by an unknown advanced race, they are not presenting any context for that earlier civilization. Where are the rest of the artifacts of those people? Where are their other works of art? Are their weapons, or their clothes, or their tools, or their trash even? Archaeology simply does not operate this way, right? So if, does this claim fit with what we know about truly how the world works? Then that's a good way to kind of decide, is it true, is it not really true? Finally, number 5, has anyone gone out of their way to disprove the claim, or has only supportive evidence been sought? This is the confirmation bias, or the tendency to seek confirmatory evidence and to reject or ignore disconfirmatory evidence. The confirmation bias is powerful, pervasive, and almost impossible for any of us to avoid. It is why the methods of science that emphasize checking and rechecking and verification and replication, and especially attempts to falsify a claim, are so critical. So basically what that's saying, right, is you want to make sure that something just isn't only supported. Because if someone has tried to go out of their way to disprove it and hasn't been able to, then okay, fine, fair enough, that's true. But if it's only been supported and there hasn't been any criticism towards it, then like within a group or whatever, then that's another reason to raise eyebrows.
I don't know if I agree with him there. I mean, I do and I don't. I see exactly. I see what he's saying, but at the same time, if I were like, the sky is blue, most people aren't gonna like argue that it looks blue. But I'm sure someone has. I don't know. Maybe he's smarter than me.
Well, I guess in that situation, right? You would say, okay, someone try and prove me wrong that it's not blue. And then if they do, and then they can't, it's like, okay, then it's not just your own bias that like I think it's right, so therefore it is.
I think therefore I
am right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so with that, let's go into that case study that I was talking about. So, birds aren't real is a conspiracy theory which some people actually believe. Many people have shirts and merch from it because they think it's a joke, but some people believe it. And so, take a listen to this and think about how this is considered a super conspiracy theory, as we talked about, right? It's event conspiracies and systemic conspiracy theories all connected together to make this broader conspiracy theory. So, birds aren't real. And this is all from birdsaren'treal.com, so you know it's a trustworthy source. According to birdsaren'treal.com, the official website for the conspiracy theory that birds are extinct, a movement began in 1975 that aimed to expose a government-caused mass extinction. The catalyst was a man known simply as the Master. The Master claimed that Project Operation Water the Country, which was the code name for a plan to exterminate all bird species in the United States and replace them with surveillance robots that would resemble birds in every way, shape, or form, was something that was vital and important to the United States at the time. In 1953, Allen Dulles was made the director of the CIA, and amidst the Red Scare, which you history buffs might remember as the fear of communism sweeping through the United States, wanted to put surveillance cameras in the sky. Again, Allen Dulles was made the director of the CIA and wanted to put surveillance cameras in the sky.
Did he actually want to do that?
This is according to the website, so I really don't know if that's true or not, but this is what the website says. Yeah. Under the approval of President Eisenhower, Dulles supervised the production of 120 B-52B bombers at Area 51 that would be used to target flocks of birds and rain down a bird poison that would release a deadly contagious virus, killing and destroying the corpse of any bird it encountered, dead or alive.
In Area 51, I see how it's hierarchical. How do you say it? Hierarchical?
Hierarchical. Yeah.
That word. That's way too.
It's very difficult to say. Yes.
And it's funny that you say that because that was another conspiracy theory dealt with on season 10 of
an AHS. Yeah. Maybe next episode you should teach us about AHS.
Wait, that's not a bad idea because it's an anthology.
Yeah. Anyway, so these nightly killings began on June 2nd, 1959, and in the next 6 years, 15% of the bird population in the United States was wiped out. When John F. Kennedy became president in 1961, he had no knowledge of Project Water the Country. The CIA had planned on operating alone with this project, but Kennedy intercepted a call between Dulles and Alvin B. Cleaver, the internal communications director for the CIA. After intercepting this call, he demanded to be informed. He was shown a prototype of the Turkey X500, a robot designed to kill birds of prey, such as hawks and eagles, on October 25th, 1963. But instead, he terminated the operation. Allegedly, Kennedy's disapproval of Dulles' work is what led to his assassination on November 22nd, 1963.
Yeah.
As we all know. Yeah, exactly. Again, this is not true.
How do we believe this?
Yes. So, since Kennedy, the CIA has rigged every presidential election to date to promote anti-bird advocacy and pro-citizen surveillance.
Wait, who has rigged it?
The CIA. Yeah.
All right.
I noticed you've switched to a legal pad, no longer taking notes on your iPad.
Yeah. No, shred these afterwards because if anybody finds him, they're gonna be like, "Oh, he's a little out there." Because I just have the birds were
Yeah.
banned by or
Yeah.
by the CIA.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, maybe they shouldn't have let him out of the hospital. No.
Yeah. So again, so since Kennedy, the CIA has rigged every presidential election to date to promote anti-bird advocacy and pro-citizen surveillance. Robots are currently being built in government fallout shelters that were intended for the use during the threat of nuclear war during the Cold War. This includes underneath the Denver airport, which by
Yes.
by coincidence also has conspiracy theories about it. The material of the robot birds is known as bauxite. Is that a made up word? It sounds like it. I've never heard of it, but
I
anyway,
haven't.
bauxite. Coincidentally, Vietnam was abundant in this metal, and the CIA's demand for it was high during the same years as the Vietnam War. In 2019, and during the Trump presidency, Trump continued Dulles' mission by building a wall at the southern border that will contain bird tracking weapons that will emit microwaves at any bird attempting to cross into the country. Now, you may see birds in the United States, if you live in the United States, still in the sky. What are these birds? Well, these birds are actually government robots with surveillance cameras in them so that the government has eyes and ears on every area of the United States where birds supposedly can exist. This also can explain why birds might exist in areas that you wouldn't think birds could live, such as extreme cold areas and I guess extreme hot, no, but whatever.
The CIA was anti-bird, right?
The CIA was anti-bird and wanted to replace all of the living birds with robotic birds with surveillance that had surveillance.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense in the context of the it does not make sense, but you know what I mean. Like that I filled in the holes to their story.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So clearly this alleged conspiracy theory is more fantasy than reality, and using Michael Shermer's baloney detection kit can be proved that the claim made by the quote-unquote master is false. The source is not reliable. The website seems to be the only source on the topic. By no means does it fit with how the world works, and most importantly, there is no positive evidence to support this claim whatsoever. Although I'm sure people could find it.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to present today. Do you have any questions about conspiracy theories, about birds aren't real, and kind of what I feel like I gave you a lot, but what we have here?
I do. Can we take away free thought? Just something we could,
Yeah.
talk about in a future episode.
Yeah,
No,
sure.
I'm kidding. All right, I'm ready to get at least a B on this quiz.
Okay. So I got 4 questions for you.
4 questions.
And here we go.
Okay.
Name a type of conspiracy theory according to Michael Barkun.
Okay. A super conspiracy theory.
Okay. And what is it?
It contains multiple events. It is like the most absurd usually, but not always, and they're linked hierarchically.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Good.
Got him.
Okay.
Cool.
Name a tool in the Michael Shermer baloney detection kit.
Allow me. I almost allowed me to knock my water onto Jordan's iPad. She would have killed me. How reliable is the source of this claim?
Yeah.
The first step, or the first tool.
Perfect. Third question. You're 2 for 2 so far. Name at least 3 facts presented about pseudoscience.
All right, here we go. This is where I start to lose it. No, I'm kidding. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, the hypothesis appeals to emotion and looks only for items to support it, and not to try and debunk it. It's indifferent to the criteria of valid evidence. I don't know what the hell that means, so I'll give you another one.
That is one of them. Yeah.
Okay, well, it often relies on subjective. I just said subjective. Weird. I said subjective validation. meaning like, for example, like, oh, that's one person's experience. And then, what was the other one? Oh, it depends on arbitrary, conventions of human culture and not, like universal trends or like larger trends that we see.
Larger trends, or the way that other one was unchanging regularities of nature. Yeah. Conventions of human culture versus unchanging regularities of nature. Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Did I get that one? Do I get like half a point?
No, you get the full point. Yeah.
Wow.
3 for 3.
Anyways.
And then the last question.
He has a 4.5 on Rate My Professor.
Me?
Yeah, that's really good. 5's a fake. Conspiracy.
Conspiracy. Yeah. Number 4. What was the name of the operation to remove all the birds from the sky?
Hold on. I have that. I have it. See, this is why. Oh, I don't understand why, but Water the Country.
Yeah, so it was called Water the Country, and maybe I could have explained this more, but it was called Water the Country because the drones and rained down the poison
on me.
The bird killing poison.
Okay.
Every night. But so I forgot to say this part, but the justification in case people saw the drones were 1, they're UFOs, OMG, or 2, it's part of the government-wide irrigation project. So Operation Water the Country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yes, of course.
Rain
so
on me.
So congratulations. Do you feel smarter or do you feel dumber?
Yes.
I guess that's the question.
Yes. No, that was really good, and it was a fun one. I really enjoyed it. Look at me getting an A in Mr. Dew's class.
I didn't even get 100% on yours.
You got a 90, but that was still, there were 5 questions, not 4, and so technically, both times I've gotten 4 questions right, and you've gotten 4 questions right. Just saying.
Okay, all right, fine, fair enough.
You know?
I like that. Apples to apples.
Yeah.
Great board game.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that, my name is Justin Dew.
And I'm Nick Gervasi.
And you can reach us at our email, pointofdewpodcast@gmail.com, or by sending us a voice message on our website, anchor.fm/pointofdew. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Point of Dew Podcast, and Twitter at Point of Dew. If you enjoy our show, give us a rating or review in the Apple Podcast Store, or share us with a friend or family member. We'd really appreciate it and are truly grateful for your support. As always, we hope you have a great week. Thank you for listening, and until next time.
H. Everything you heard today was a conspiracy theory. We were lying. JK. Okay, bye. Because they will carry on. If the other side is a sad story, we'll make good out of it. Because we count the times when we were together. Now